This is this is a talk that's less informative, I guess, and mostly supposed to be fun. And it's just about a problem, an interesting problem that we faced while building our app, and how we went about solving it. So, who am I? Me, I'm Prasanth, and I'm a co-founder at MT Cup, a startup based out of Bangalore, and we're trying to build interior design platform. So I am mostly a JavaScript guy. I've been developing for close to 10 years now. And React Native is not my forte. I just happen to play around with some of the code. And Java isn't either, or Swift, but during the talk, we'll discuss some of the things about native Java debugging and also Swift as well. So that's mostly about me. So the problem this talk addresses is basically it's about portals, like what portals are and why do we even need them. Portals are a common thing. Probably in web, it's a very common thing. You have React DOM, and you can use even before React in jQuery, you used to have this detach and detach, so you could move things around in the DOM tree. And The most important feature that it would provide you is keep the state of the elements intact without having to recreate the DOM elements whenever you move things around in the tree. So in React Native setting, so the problem really is basically we have a simple stack navigator, and it just has two screens, a preview screen and a detail screen. Imagine you have an element that you have displayed on the preview screen that you wanted to show in a bigger view or in a full screen view in a detailed screen. It can be anything. It can be a web view, it can be a video, or it can be a chart or a surface, like where you have like OpenGL graphics appearing on the surface. So it can be anything. In this case, it's simple web view, which is having a source tag that is a data HTML that just writes out a dynamic timestamp. The timestamp just is there to show that whenever your web view is loaded, the timestamp at that time is in the web view. So whenever the web view is unmounted and mounted again, if the state of the web view itself has changed, then we know that by checking out the timestamp. So it's a pretty straightforward, simple setup, and this is as simple as it can get. And what the expectation was that you have this screen which has a web view and the timestamp here, and whenever you navigate to this other screen, you don't want the web view's content to change. It can be a video as well. So how do we go about this? Straightforward solutions is you can think of as portals, because that's the keyword. And so you go look around what is the state of the framework, like why does or React Native support portals already. So from my research at that point, there was no straightforward support for portals in React Native. There was a create portal API, but that was in the React DOM, and that is mostly targeted at web. And find node handle is another interesting thing, but the framework itself had several bugs related to create portal implementation, and nothing very encouraging at that point. Whenever a few months back when we were actually solving this problem, and there were other implementations as well. React Native paper was one of the solutions that we researched, and it didn't seem to offer much control, and also it didn't seem to be preserving the state of the native views. It just had a portal host and a portal, and you had to you had very little control over multiple destinations and similar functionality you would expect from a portal. And the recently created another package that looks very promising, but it seems to have similar functionality and drawbacks of React Native paper. So that was mostly why we felt very limited, because the framework didn't give out a straightforward way of implementing this feature. And another point here is that we could say, we could just be okay with having the entire state of the web view start in the other screen, but that's just bad for the UX. Just take an example for just to give you an example. Imagine you have a video, especially the YouTube, how YouTube handles picture in picture, and you you are playing a video and then you switch to the landscape mode and you want the video to go into the full screen, and then it starts to seek again, it starts to load the entire video again, buffering and everything, and that's just bad. And sometimes it's also important if you have sensitive data, that is, say for example, you have a web view that does payment integration for you, and you want to keep the context of the JavaScript context of the web view itself intact when you are moving across different screens. You have to keep that. You have to go implement this feature. There's no working around that. In our case, it was a complex WebGL canvas, and there was no way we could just give a millisecond latency scene recreation in for the user. So we had to figure out a way we could um, move things around in the application, move views around in the application. And first thing immediately was whether it was possible or not. And reaching out to Stack Overflow was the usual thing. And we did get a response which pointed us to a library called RN Native Portals, which is pretty interesting itself, and it's proper candidate for a good hackathon on React Native. And what it does is basically this. So on the left is how the user experience would be like in their application, where they have a certain video element, and whenever you switch to the landscape, that video element is shown in the full screen. And on the left, you can see that the video starts to buffer again whenever the orientation changes. But on the right, you see that the same video element is, it continues to play seamlessly. And that is happening basically because of this. So what is actually happening underneath is the orange node is the video element, and the library is basically moving this leaf node in the tree, and this is basically reparenting, and that's what the library is out to do, and that's what it does. So how is it working? Basically, the setup is this. You have a portal origin and a portal destination. These are the components that are exposed to you in the JavaScript. You can, just like how you use a view tag, you can have this portal origin with a certain destination, and the destination is what is linked with the portal destination's name. So whatever children are inside the portal origin, they are restituted is the keyword, but they are moved to the destination with the name that is matching with the portal origins destination. It might sound a little complex, but yeah, it isn't complex at all. And the implementation on the framework side, like the native module side, is this is a pseudo implementation, and basically you have origin and destination classes, which are kind of listening to these properties, destination and name property setters. And whenever the properties are set, you kind of keep a track of all the origin views and the destination views in individual origin dictionaries and destination dictionaries. And whenever you set the destination for portal origin, and you just go check from the registry if you can find a portal destination with the new destination, and if it is available, you basically move all the contents of the origin to the destination, and that's basically how it works. And so the real question is, does it even work? And so there were a bunch of issues. First thing was it didn't work with Expo. It had issues with linking, and there was a bug that we found out that it was causing vanishing children in the iOS. And there was also one peculiar problem um, that was about inconsistent dimensions of the views. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but yeah. So going into the debugging and forking the library, and then how understanding the implementation, understanding how the views and view managers and the UI hierarchies work in iOS and Android was the way forward for us. And so it's if you are interested, you can check out how the module itself is implemented. The concept is pretty basic actually. The module itself, the library itself is pretty small in terms of like code lines of code. It's hardly a few classes, portal origin views and view managers and registries, and that's easily readable and understandable. And so yeah, a few sessions later, just getting the code code to work as like integrating the portal origin and destination into the code, we just have the solution that yeah. So with the navigation, it seems to work. um, you have a certain single web view that is on the preview screen that just teleports to the detail screen, and done. But no, actually there was some issue. So the inconsistent view dimensions is basically it was a quirk in the implementation. It was mostly that whenever the restitution happens, the view and the destination is taking up the dimension as if it had been um, in the origin screen. So whenever React is done with rendering this node graph, node tree, it would compute the dimensions of this web view in the previous screen, and it would mark that this view had this dimensions. And since the module is coming into the picture after the React render happens, and you move things around after the render happened, you actually move a view that was supposed to fit perfectly into the other screen. So when you have a container that is, say for example, 100 pixels here, and you have the view in a container that is 200 pixels here, you will be seeing a gap of 100 pixels here. So the workaround for that is basically to override these iOS and Android methods, the layouts of views and the on layout, on size changed methods, and computing the dimensions of the parent after the restitution happen, and then you lay out the subviews again, and that fixes it. But it's a hacky solution, and it kind of doesn't work in some of the uh, iOS versions as well. Sadly, how that's how things are. But yeah, it 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 needs a lot of work, and also uh, it's a hack in the end at the end of the day. So the way forward is probably clean up the fork and release it. And the best way forward would be to implement this portals as main feature support in React Native itself, and probably implement it from scratch using Kotlin in Android and maybe Swift in iOS, and also support for like Windows, iOS, and Web is actually trivial because React DOM already has this portal support. That's not a problem. But yeah, the supporting all the platforms and having tests and making it published and having support for hot reloads and expo as well, that would be great. That would be the way forward. And yeah, that's a short talk. And mostly, if you have any questions, you can ping.